Namaskar, everyone. It's such an honor and pleasure to be here with one of my favorite teachers and now personal friends and deepest respected colleague, Komilla Sutton, who's going to be presenting on the very profound topic of the planetary challenges of the complex 2025. Welcome, Komilla. Namaste.
Namaste, Kasanati. So nice to be here, and thank you for inviting me again. It's a pleasure.
It wouldn't be the Parashara conference without you.
Thank you.
Komilla Sutton is an internationally renowned consultant, teacher, and lecturer since 1995. Kamilla's life work is about the ancient knowledge of Vedic astrology. Her goal is to increase the accessibility of this ancient form of astrology and build meaningful bridges between the East and the West. Kamilla's Academy teaches a 3-year online study program augmented by a new advanced course each year. And Komilla is also the co-founder and chairman of the British Association of Vedic Astrology. While residing in England, Komilla was part of the faculty of the American College of Vedic Astrology and the Council of Astrological Association of Great Britain. Komilla, I'm going to just do a quick chant to Saturn, and then please, you will have the floor.
Thank you.
Oh. Niljan samambasham ravi putkram yamagrajam chayamartanda sambutam tam namami sanastarayam. Om nilandana samabasham ravi putram yamagrajam chayamartanda sambutam tam namami sanastarayam. Nilandana samabasham ravi putram yamagrajam chayamartanda sambutam tam namami sanastarayam. Om Pram Prim Pram Sahasranashtaraya Nama, Pram Prim Pram Sahasranashtaraya Nama, Pram Prim Pram Sahasranashtaraya Nama, Pram Prim Pram Sahasranashtaraya Nama. Hari Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Shri Mata Amritanandamaya. Thank you, Komilla ji.
Thank you. That was beautiful. So, hello, everybody. And it's wonderful to be here for the Parashara Astrology Conference and talking about the planetary energies of 2025. And it's everybody. Today we are on Parashara Astrology 2024, and we are talking about planetary challenging, actually it should be challenges of a complex 2025. And I'm Komilla Sutton, and this photograph is of the Navagraha, I'm just going to, the Navagraha, the 9 planets. And so, excuse my title. And this is me with Sage Parashar. And I was there earlier this year at a temple in Madurai, which is called Thiruparakundram. And it's always a pleasure to do his darshan, and they allow us to take one photograph every time we go because we are astrologers. And so I'm going to start with the chanting and just Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahman Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Adityaya Somaya Mangalaya Budaya Cha Guru Shukra Shanibhyascha Rahuve Ketave Namaha. Om Neelanjana Samabhasam Ravi Putram Yamagrajam Chayamaratanda Sambhutam Tam Namami Shanishcharam. So I'm in India just now, and it is 12:30, maybe past 12:30 at night here. And it's still Saturday, as you know, that the Sunday will begin at sunrise tomorrow. And I've just been to our local Saturn temple. It's a Shiva temple. And so I bring blessings from the temple as well. And today being Saturday for all of you, as well as for me. And so just a little bit information. I'm doing a temple trip, Rahu Ketu temple trip from 6th of February. This specifically for some of the issues we are dealing with in 2025. So you could see all the details on my website, komilla.com. And then I every year have Vedic astrology courses. And I have 4 live courses every year: Foundation, Rules of Interpretation, Prediction. This forms my 3-year course. And then advanced course this year is Chart Interpretation and Counseling. So I hope some of you can join. And this is the Chart Interpretation and Counseling. And again, details on my website, komilla.com. And just like Kasanati, I have been doing a conference. I call it the Fresh Talents of Vedic Astrology Conference. It's my 11th conference, and 10th to 13th January. The topic is VIMSHOTTARI DASHA. Here, what I do is that I have some great masters, including Kasanati is going to be lecturing, of Vedic astrologers alongside with students of mine. And some of the students now are gurus in their own right. And I want to give them opportunity to come and lecture. It's very good conference. We have a lot of attendance. I didn't do one last year because I was changing dasha. So I was in Mercury dasha for 17 years. And now I'm in Ketu dasha. So I'm having a very Ketu-ish experience. So, and these are my books. Again, you can buy them from any book dealer. My latest one was Shodasha Varga, and I'm actually in the process of writing VIMSHOTTARI Dasha, hopefully soon. So the planetary challenges, one sec, let me just... so today, our topic is planetary challenges of... One sec, let me hide the... planetary challenges of a complex 2025. And again, I'm Komilla Sutton, and these are the Navagraha. From my local temple in California, this is the Livermore Temple. I've photographed the Navagrahas from there. So regular update on planets I usually post on YouTube. So you can go to my Komilla Sutton channel, and there's a lot of classes as well posted there. Facebook, I just share what I've done on YouTube, so you can look at that. As far as questions are concerned, I will answer at the end of the seminar. So, and most photographs that are taken by me during my trips to India and other places, and some Graha pictures are courtesy Wikipedia, no longer in copyright. So let us start with our topic. So 2025 is the challenging time for planets. Now, what I've found over the years, because I have been watching transits for many, many years, and what I've found is that every year is challenging. I usually say this year is challenging, and the next year there is something else. The grahas and the gochara transit, it's always moving, always doing something. Our job as astrologers or as followers of astrology is to understand their, ebb and flow, understand their challenges, and therefore then react accordingly. It's a lifelong project. I'm teaching something that I follow myself very seriously as well. So, what is the theme of 2025? Saturn, firstly, always we watch Saturn starts in Aquarius, moves to Pisces. It is always challenging when Saturn changes signs and new signs begin Sadesati, but you see, it's a new sign, and therefore there are new rules, and you have different planets placed under that. And of course, it's a relief to some of you. And then Saturn Rahu conjunction, which is the big one. All astrologers are watching it. It's in April, 13th, 14th April. And not just that Saturn Rahu is conjoined, Venus and Mercury are also with it. And Venus is exalted, it's retrograde, Mercury is retrograde. And I remember that a few years ago, as my advanced class, I was teaching transits. And I asked students to find some interesting transits for the future years. And this was one that almost all of them said, this is the one to watch for. And Saturn Rahu conjoined once in 11 years. So it's a major conjunction. You see, Saturn, Jupiter conjoined once in 20 years. And after that, Saturn Rahu conjunction. And last time Saturn Rahu conjoined was in 2014 and now 2025. So we have to be thinking about what we are going to do, how we are going to deal with. Then Jupiter is in 3 signs. We start off in Taurus, then it moves to Gemini, then Cancer, then it retrogrades back to Gemini. While Jupiter does not have any challenging conjunction this year, rushing through signs is not good. The classics and the sages, our gurus, did not recognize when Jupiter rushes through a sign that it can give any good effect. And I feel the reason is it's rushing, how you do some impulsive action or you're rushing through things. You can't really do everything. And Jupiter also has a long Vargotama in Gemini Cancer from September 2025 to January 2026. I'll be talking about details about this as we go along. Then Mars struggles earlier in 2025. It is debilitated. It's going to cross through Gandanta. And when he goes into Leo, Ketu is already waiting for him. And Mars-Ketu conjunction is not very easy one. Last time, Mars-Ketu conjunction caused all the problems with the Israel situation and, the whole Gaza-Israel situation happened exactly start of it. The events happened on Mars-Ketu, the last one. So there are certain conjunctions, I always watch with care. And we also move on from it, It's not that we are still there telling the story. And then Rahu Ketu start the year in Pisces, Virgo till 19th of May. Then it moves back because Rahu Ketu are retrograding to Aquarius Leo axis. Rahu will be in Aquarius, Ketu in Leo. The major Rahu-Saturn conjunction plus eclipses now impact different signs from March onwards, because Saturn is also coming to a different sign, and Rahu is also moving. Almost simultaneously, Saturn does in March, Rahu Ketu do in May, but then before they do it, they conjoin together and have a clash. And all 5 planets turn retrograde in 2025. So when you're looking at any year, and we have to be conscious about what we look at. Each year brings many challenges. As I said, I have been watching these transits for a long time, and I have found that every year there are challenges that we have to deal with, and one has to try to deal with them successfully, as well as opportunities. Our role is to understand what the planets are saying to us, because they're telling you this is what it is. And main message is to be cautious during stressful times and take opportunities when planets are calm. So these are the most important things to think about when you're looking at 2025 or any year. We must learn to trust the planets, then adjust our lives accordingly. You see, one of the biggest problems that happens is that people think, no, I can cope. I'm an astrologer, I understand. I can cope. And it's actually, everything throws up some challenge. And we have to honor, respect, and, be humble with the planets. Not have the ego. As I told you recently, I changed my dasha, and I moved from Mercury to Ketu. And that transition was very interesting because I learned something from it. It's not, even though I'm an astrologer, I understand the impact. You still have to live it. And that's what I say, that when you are, the planets are in a angry mode or in a dramatic mode, whichever way you want to, we must trust that they are, not necessarily going to give the results. They're not fruitful at that time. So we have to adjust our lives accordingly. So what is going to be experienced in 2025? This seminar is about personal experiences rather than world predictions. I'm not very good at world predictions, really, because I follow them for my own interest. But whenever I decide I'm going to do, my personal view comes in there. And secondly, I think that I like the more personal experience. That is what I use astrology for, as a day-to-day help in living a good life. So there are 2 types of planetary experiences. And when we are watching these transits, we have to know that we are, experiencing personal when planets are either affecting directly. They may be strong transits, but you do not experience them as they are not affecting you directly. So, for example, as Saturn moves into Pisces, you may have some planets in Pisces. You may have your moon in Pisces. You may have your ascendant in Pisces. So therefore, that transit is going to be affecting you directly. Last year, Rahu was in Pisces, so Rahu was affecting you directly as well. But sometimes the transit is taking place. It's not affecting you per se directly, but because the energy is disturbed, you do need to be still conscious of it. For personal transits, you need to study the Mahadasha as well. The Dasha's transits make up the complete experience at any given time. So in this seminar, we are not able to look at the dashas, the transits. So you are all experienced astrologers. You are attending an astrology conference. Therefore, you need to look at this aspect, that what are the dasha you are experiencing, and then study the transits. Obviously, if the dasha is challenging, transits are challenging, then it is an intense year. But sometimes, you have a mix of situation. Then the global transits, all transits, challenging or positive, have effect on the world. And we can personally experience them through family, friends, world issues, weather, unforeseen circumstances, travel, political unrest. These are shared experience. Actually, they say that the transits are shared experiences, but all of us are impacted by it at the same time. But do we react in a different way? We may have a different way that we react to the situation. So even though two people are experiencing the same transit, their experience of the transit may be totally different, because firstly, what is their dasha? Secondly, is the transit affecting them? Thirdly, are they doing any remedies? Are they helping themselves to deal with? But global situations, weather patterns, tornadoes, hurricanes, all sorts of things like earthquakes, things, which we don't have control over. So those things also are, can happen during the transit. So this is my absolute favorite thing that I like to do, is cosmic planning. I like everybody to know the transits, learn to cope with their impact. That is very important. Instead of planets managing you, learn to manage them. Avoid doing important things on tough transits days. Avoid travel, being in large crowds when the transits are challenging. You see, what happens is, I see so often I advise people about tough transit days. And recently, I was advising somebody, they wanted to get married in April. And I said, April is with them exactly around the time of the Rahu Saturn conjunction. But you see, it is not up to me to make the decision. My thing is to advise and to say, that's a tough time. And also, although they were choosing a slightly later date, the problem was that Saturn Rahu was still together. And at the later date, if you think the planning of the wedding was taking place with all this disturbed energy. But, as astrologers, as I said, you must trust the planets. You must cosmically plan your year ahead. And that is most important. So you don't want the planets to manage you. You want to know. And I put the word manage. You can't control the planets, and you may not be perfectly successful every time. So it is important to understand that sometimes they will manage you, but at least we have to try a bit. So we need to train ourselves consciously to experience transits and use their energy for self-development, for quality of life, Difficult transits tend to disrupt positive efforts and encourage us to repeat old patterns that can lead to suffering and sorrow. So you see, the thing is that these disruptive energies, they can take away all our good intention. And therefore, we have to be more careful. When the sages were looking at Jyotish and studying the planets, they were not studying for minor things. They were thinking that they must do their dharma and they must do the right thing. And the difficult transits, if they disrupt the dharmic act or make you do something negative, then, you go reverse so much. Then you have to try to develop, doubly or double your effort. So the reason we study the transits is to avoid the pitfalls of the challenging transits and learn to manage their fallout. So it's nothing to be worried about that 2025 has got challenges. It is more to think, how you're going to deal with them, cope with them, because, of course, Saturn Rahu conjunction is once every 11 years, but you experienced it 11 years ago, and now you're experiencing it again. So one of the things you want to watch also is that what is the transit of your ascendant ruler? This has most impact on you. If he is strong, he gives ability to cope with other transits. So if your ascendant ruler is strong, then it's sort of allowing you to manage, just like if you have a storm happening and your house is properly secure, then it may be doing some damage, but it avoids the major damage. And then this is very important. You cannot escape everything, but can improve the experience. If you are experiencing difficult transits, then it is best to do some upaya or remedy. So as I said, that remedy is most important. Actually, when I met my Guruji when I started studying Jyotish, I started studying in 1979. In fact, it was November 1979. I went to get my chart read. And as I was getting my chart read, my Guruji said, I wasn't thinking of him that he would be my Guruji in astrology. He said, you have Saturn in your seventh house. And my question to him was, what can I do about it? Because that is where, some of that effect is there, but what can I do about it? And he said that if you actually do the remedies properly, you'll be a very strong person. And I was very young at that time, that's ages ago, over 40, 40 years ago. But I was, started doing mini remedies and then more and more. So this is really important to understand that whatever it is, we want to be humble about it. And we also need to do remedies. And I'll give a few remedies at the end of the class. So when I talk about the transits, they can be from ascendant or moon time. All timings are usually given for Pacific time because I live in California. Although right now I'm in India, I have a home in India in Chandigarh, and I'm visiting Chandigarh. Actually, I've been attending a wedding. So today my niece got married. So all day I was at wedding celebrations. Evening, I went to the Saturn temple. And then midnight, I'm here. So I'm having a busy time. But mostly I live in California, and these are Pacific times. So 2025, it's a challenging year. However, there are pockets of time that can be very positive too. No year is one-dimensional. We must know good times to enjoy them, but sometimes, in your personal chart, your moon is in the degrees where Saturn is roaming around, then it is a challenging year. But even with the most challenging time, it can be pretty good. So again, just repeating the themes of the year. Saturn is in Aquarius, moves to Pisces, and the Saturn Rahu conjunction, which is the main one. So that is Saturn. So when you're looking at the planets, then Jupiter is in 3 signs: Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. But Cancer is good, it's exalted. And then Jupiter has a long Vargotama. It remains end of Gemini, early Cancer is Vargotama. And Jupiter has a long stay there. Mars is struggling just now. It's in Cancer, it's going to retrograde, and then it'll go back to Gemini, then back to Cancer, then Leo. And Mars Ketu in July is the two big challenging transits are the Saturn Rahu and Mars Ketu. Rahu Ketu in Pisces, Virgo to 19th of May, then Aquarius, Leo axis, and of course the major Rahu Saturn conjunction, Mars Ketu conjunction. So that is quite good. So the software I'm using is Sri Jyoti Star, and it has a very good, I have a page of it, but it has this excellent sign ingress chart. And I use this all the time. And this is the 2025 sign ingress. You know, sun, moon, they're too fast moving. But you see here, Mars is in Cancer to 21st January, then Gemini till 2nd of April, then till 6th of June in Leo, and then 28th July in Virgo. So you see that all the story of the year in that one snapshot you can get of each of the planets. And you can see the major shift, Saturn moving 29.3 into Pisces, Rahu moving out of Pisces 18th May, 17th, 18th May into Aquarius. So you can see this wonderful sign ingress. And then all the 5 planets retrograde. It's not every year that all the 5 planets retrograde. But this year, what you see is that Mars is retrograding up to 23rd February. And then we have the 3 Mercury retrogrades, 15th March, 17th July, and 9th of November. And then Jupiter's retrograde right now, it's going to go direct on 4th of February. I have a program in India to wait 6th February for Jupiter to be direct. But Jupiter again will go retrograde 11/11, November 11th, and it is retrograde till March. Venus retrograde 1st March to 12th of April, and then Saturn retrograde 12th of July to 27th November. Now, Venus is going to retrograde in Pisces. So during that retrograde, it is conjoining with Rahu, with Saturn. It's not a very comfortable retrograde for Venus as well. And Saturn will retrograde in Pisces. So it remains in Pisces. It does not go back. So let us explore what each planet is doing. I won't be looking at all the planets, but the major planets. So, of course, you know, Saturn, we cannot do Shani. Significator of sorrow, his transits will bring suffering, create situations to test the mettle. Saturn is aware of debts owed due to previous karma. These are created by individual, therefore must be repaid by them. You see, you can't say that you want to rush any Saturn remedy. Saturn's other role is that he is the Karaka, significator for 6th, 8th, and 12th houses. And you have 6th, 8th, and 12th house in your Rashi. You have 6th, 8th, 12th from your moon, from your Aruda Lagna, from your everywhere there's 6, 8, 12, then all the Varga charts. Therefore, Saturn is one of the key remedies that you should consider doing. And I remember all those years back, it was 11th of November in 1979 when my Guruji gave me the remedy to fast for Saturn. And it was a very wise remedy to give because I've been doing it for so many years because it was the karaka for all this, and over the years, not perfectly, I have to say I'm human, but I've been doing it regularly. It has really helped. So Saturn is in Aquarius Pisces in 2025. It starts in Aquarius, moves to Pisces. And it is always challenging when Saturn changes signs. New signs begin Saresati. You may have planets, Lagna, other things in Pisces, where then Saturn is going to start impacting you. And so Saturn in Aquarius, he's very powerful up to 29th of March. You see, Saturn has been in Capricorn and Aquarius since own signs since 2020. So it's a 5 years we have had a strong Saturn. After that, Saturn in Pisces, Saturn in Aries debilitated. So it is important to sort of honor the transit. After 29th March 2025, it's in a new sign, Pisces, straight into a very challenging conjunction with Rahu on 13th, 14th April. Actually, the day Saturn moves into Pisces is also a solar eclipse. So there's a lunar eclipse on 13th of March, 29th of March is a solar eclipse, and Saturn moves just after the eclipse into Pisces. So it's sort of very volatile, unsettled situation. And in that solar eclipse in Pisces, Rahu, Sun, Venus, Mercury, all are there in that combination. So the Saturn Rahu conjunction in April 2025, along with Venus and Mercury, is a major stress. Saturn Rahu conjoin once every 9 years. So it is a major conjunction. The conjunction is at 1 degree 48 Pisces, Purva Bhadra Nakshatra. If you have moon, ascendant, other planets at 1 degree 48 Pisces, then this is a major challenge. I was looking recently at somebody's chart. They had Sun and Lagna at 1 degree 48. And so they are feeling very unsettled, restless. And today, interestingly enough, when I was in Shani temple, she came there. I said to her, I'm going, but I did not think that they would come. But they came, or she came. And so it was very interesting that something was guiding her to take the help. But it is, sometimes the problem with astrology is also that as an astrologer, you see these problem issues and you see them in your chart, or you see them in charts of friends, family, then you have to say it softly. I'm teaching you so I can explain to you. But you have to be careful how you communicate it. We are not there to increase fear and anxiety, but we also don't want to give a false, false image or false hope. So Saturn Rahu conjunction is known as Shrapit Yoga. Shrapit Yoga brings negative energies from the past, and the world can experience it in the form of a crisis. Shrap is like a curse, and we don't know what. All of us must have collected some of them. But when these yogas are happening, whether in our chart or what is the sub energy, that we should do the remedy for it. And generally for us, unless it's directly connected to we always need to be extra cautious during these days. avoid travel, start new project, get married, as the energies are too disturbed and we do not know where and how they will impact. I was telling you about somebody wanting to get married at that time. And I said to them that I cannot advise you astrologically because I said, rest is up to you. You have other more worldly concerns. Now, but astrologically, Saturn Rahu, even though they split up, continue for 2 months together in Pisces. You don't want that in your chart. But patience is required. Sometimes, you can't do things on the day you want. And this is intense yoga. I remember it from 2014 as well. And I always look at what the world events are and how I dealt with it as well. So then there are 3 important Saturn transits to watch. They are Sadesati, Ashtama Shani, which is transit to the 8th house from the moon and ascendant, and Kantaka Shani, which is 4th from the moon. So you see, this is what is happening is that when Saturn changes signs, it is going to change these energies. Just excuse me. So Sadesati, Saturn's transit to 12th, first, second house from the moon. You all know Sadesati. This is only connected to the moon. And so right now, up to 29th of March, while Saturn is in Aquarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, moon are in Sadesati. Aquarius is in intense Sadesati. If you followed my YouTube channel, you know that I pay very great attention to the year Saturn is near your degrees of the moon, and that is usually lasts 1 year. And at present, Saturn went direct at 18 degrees of Aquarius, so 18 to 30 degrees of Aquarius is where the intense Sadesati is there. Purva Bhadra moon has Saturn in Janma Nakshatra, therefore, even more intensity of Saturn transit. So therefore, firstly, you have to calm down and, mostly be very cautious about any, choices you make. Just think maybe it's not the best time to disrupt my life, unless it gets disrupted where you have no choice. But voluntarily doing it would not be a good idea. But from 1st January to 27th April and 3rd October to 31st December, Saturn is in Purva Bhadra Nakshatra. From 27th April to 3rd October, Saturn will be in Uttara Bhadra. So Saturn will retrograde back up to 7 degrees of Uttara Bhadra. So that means that, from Uttara Bhadra, it will come back to Purva Bhadra. So that is a thing that you have to watch for. If your moon is in these 2 nakshatras, Saturn transits in Janma, creating extreme intensity of Saturn transit. Actually, Purva Bhadra is where most of the drama is taking place because Saturn Rahu conjunction is in Purva Bhadra, and then Saturn is transiting Purva Bhadra. So Aries moon begins Sadesati in earnest in 2025. They need to be very cautious about choices they make now, as it can impact them later when Saturn is in intense Sadesati in Aries. Now, I feel that if you're Aries moon and you're listening to my lecture or following astrology, you have a very good, clear option that, you are going to be in Saraswati. So as Saturn is going through Pisces, you are aware of any choices you're making and not being impulsive or not doing things just for the sake of it. Double check yourself. Aries moon is quite impulsive, but you can make a lot of difference, having a planning about what is happening for you. So that is Aries moon. And, don't get taken up by the Saturn Rahu and this urgency that I must do something. Think long term and understand that. By the time, say, if you're Pisces moon or Purva Bhadra moon, Saturn is already on you. You can still be cautious, but the gift for an Aries moon right now is there. The whole period of Saraswati has challenges, so watch for them and react. Do not think it will not affect, as some challenges will be experienced. Saturn demands effort, restricts, and it can bring expenses too, both emotional and financial, so plan for it. I find that for Saraswati, those of you, so that is Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, all of you, you have to keep a handle on your money and what you're going to do with it. That is very important at this stage to think about it, but other things as well. And, the main thing is this, that don't react in anticipation. And especially if you're feeling restless, then think about it, think it through. What is your dasha? What are the transits? And the most important thing about Saraswati is that it's not all negative, and you should not be afraid of it, but it has its periods and we cannot pinpoint those periods. So we need to know and to plan for what we are doing. Then Saturn's transit, Ashtama Shani. Ashtama Shani is to the 8th house. This is an unsettling transit, can impact health, sudden, unexpected changes. Cancer ascendant and moon are experiencing it to 29th of March 2025. Leo ascendant and moon are experiencing it from 29th March 2025 for 2.5 years. So the thing is this, that I have seen this on Cancer ascendant, a lot of Cancer ascendant going through some major health crisis at this time. It's also age appropriate. King Charles is Cancer ascendant. Princess Catherine, UK, she's Cancer ascendant. So they've had a, challenging year this year. But, it's a major transit and we have to be aware of it. Then Kantaka Shani, 4th from the moon. Even 4th from the Lagna, but generally studied 4th from the moon. Kantaka Shani brings stress to home and career. Karmic issues can bring blocks. Scorpio moon has Kantaka Shani to 29th of March 2025. Sagittarius moon will have Kantaka Shani for 2.5 years from 29th March 2025. So these are the things to be aware of. And why in all these transits, the key to this, why this transit is hurtful, is that Saturn aspects the 10th house. When Saturn is right on your moon or on your ascendant, it will aspect the 10th house. And from its 7th aspect from the 4th house when he's transiting, and 3rd aspect from the 8th house. So when Saturn aspects the 10th house for Aquarius, Cancer, for Aquarius, Cancer, Scorpio moon, and ascendant up to 29th of March. Saturn aspects the 10th house for Pisces, Sagittarius, Leo moon, and ascendants for 2.5 years after 29th of March. 10th house is the house of karma. Saturn can release past life karma that we need to deal with. This is not just to do with work and career. Usually, 10th house is regarded as it's karma bhava. And we think karma is work. No, it's not work and career. It's the past life karma as well. And Saturn as the planet of karma, when he aspects that 10th house, you don't know what the karma gets released. And you see that it can also release positive karma, but Saturn is mostly about paying back karma. So if you're paying back karma, you're doing the right thing. He's not going to bother you, but he can bring some unexpected situations. So then Saturn retrogrades 2025 and Saturn station. So Saturn station is very important. Saturn will retrograde on 12th July and go direct on 27th of November in 2025. Saturn stationary degree is important to know, as it is those degrees in the birth chart which will experience significant challenges. So if you have something important on that degree, remember this year Saturn's retrograde is on Pisces. So in 2025, 12th of July, Saturn will station at 7 degrees 43 Pisces, Uttarabhadra Nakshatra. So what happens is when Saturn is about to go retrograde, most of June, July, early August, Saturn will remain in the vicinity of 7 degrees 43. Therefore, any planets around that thing, Saturn is just sitting on them. It's like grinding away there. So it can be very challenging. And 27th November at 56 minutes of Pisces, so less than 1 degree, Purva Bhadra Nakshatra. Now that is also approximately the degree where Saturn Rahu conjunction took place in April. So again, one to watch out for on 27th of November. And there can be some issue that can come up. Usually these Saturn transits and Saturn stationary on a world level, you see protests, you see political problems during that time, but lots of protest against the government or any kind of problem. But what I find is that the day these planets turn retrograde or direct, one has to be careful not to get involved in that. So to avoid travel or avoid something, because what does Saturn do? Saturn delays everything. So in the retrograde of Saturn, you have to be cautious about this. Then Manasa Nakshatra is another transit that I've watched. It's the 25th nakshatra from the moon. And when Saturn transits it, it is very tough emotionally. Ashwini and Bharani nakshatras will experiencing Manasa Nakshatra. Ashwini moon need to watch the Saturn Rahu conjunction in Purva Bhadra. Their Manasa Nakshatra on 13th April and Saturn station on 27th of November. So Ashwini moon, now you see Ashwini moon is not in Sare Sati. It will start going, but because the Purva Bhadra Nakshatra is the Manasa Nakshatra for Ashwini, then that is something to watch for. And Bharani will be when Uttara Bhadra is there. So then continuing with Saturn, Saturn has Sasha Mahapurusha by transit up to 29th of March. Saturn, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, Lagna. You see, Saturn is both giving stress and opportunity because he's strong. And even though Aquarius is experiencing Saturn transit to their ascendant moon, Scorpio is Kantaka Shani, Saturn is still very determined and strong. One of the things we have to be a little bit careful is that as Saturn is leaving Aquarius, is he going to teach us the world a lesson, something karmic by nature? So Saturn's strength is ending. Strength for 5 years since 2020 is coming to an end. He may have some lessons to teach us before he leaves Aquarius. These will be random. It's not you can say this is what Shani is going to teach us. It is a random aspect. Now, Saturn, Aquarius is an air sign. And Saturn may inflate situations. Stock markets, house prices just can hit a roadblock. You can find them suddenly dropping because air is expanding everything and it has no base to control it. But otherwise, also scandals, conversations, they can just go out of control. And I've noticed Saturn does this. First, he gives that thing, and then suddenly he will block. And certainly, I think Saturn in Pisces then doesn't have that. It's more watery element there. So something to watch. And I may be giving you 1 or 2 pointers, but just keep an eye out on it. We already been suffering from inflation in USA, but there can be more stuff. So that is it for Saturn. And I put this 3 photographs of Jupiter here because Jupiter is in Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. So I thought, why not have all the 3 photographs? And in 2 of the photographs, Jupiter's with his wife, Tara Devi. Tara Devi here on the right and on the left. And in the left, this is from a temple in Pondicherry. It's beautiful, old temple dedicated to Lord Shiva. The center, Jupiter is from Shivananda Ashram. And on the right is from a local temple in Sacramento, again with the vibes. So it's very nice to see the 3 different forms of Jupiter. You can see the color yellow is the color for Jupiter. And so Jupiter in 3 signs, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. While Jupiter does not have any challenging conjunctions, rushing through signs is not so good. You see, whenever Jupiter rushes through signs, they also feel it's not politically good. There's instability. They also feel that it's sort of too quick. It's not, because Jupiter is supposed to be wise and he's supposed to be doing exactly the right thing all the time. But Jupiter being rushing through signs means he's not following his usual cycle of 1 year in a sign. So, but he has the Vargotama. I'll talk about that in a minute. So these are the signs of Jupiter in Taurus to 14th May, then Gemini 14th May to 18th October, and then 5th December to end of the year into 2026. I've not looked at I haven't given the dates, but and then Jupiter in Cancer, 18th October to 5th of December. Jupiter retrogrades back at 055 Cancer on 11th of November. So one of the things that is nice about Jupiter and Cancer, certainly I'm Pisces ascendant, so I'm looking forward to it. I've got Saturn in the Lagna, but Jupiter's in Cancer for just a window of less than 2 months. So, when you have a short window, then 11th Jupiter will retrograde. Always the day of retrograde, you must watch for it. So, Jupiter's exaltation is 18th October to 5th December 2025. And Jupiter is actually unsettled for next few years because it's rushing through signs. Next year, 25, we have 3 visits. 26, Jupiter is going to be in Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and then 27 as well. So in the 3rd visit, Jupiter will be with Ketu. So Jupiter Ketu in Cancer. So two Jupiter Cancers in 26 and 25, Jupiter exaltation will be clear without a Ketu influence. We shouldn't worry about Ketu influence from an astrology point of view because Ketu is Karaka for Jnana Karaka, past life Karaka. So he is quite important planet for all of us. So Jupiter Vargotama is a situation when it is in the same Rashi and Navamsha. In 2025, Jupiter will be Vargotama from 19th September 2025 to 4th January 2026. This is quite a long time because Jupiter gets Vargotama at 2640 of Gemini, then it goes into Cancer, then it retrogrades at 055 Cancer, goes back into Gemini. So we have a long Vargotama. That is usually very special. Not just special for us, but children born around that time, will have a Vargotama Jupiter. So that is, then they will impact us 20, 30 years later when they're grown up. But very something nice to follow. I do look at Vargotama in transit as well because usually it's very good. And if you have planets between 2640 Gemini to 320 Cancer, that's where the Vargotama kind of ranges, although Jupiter doesn't go up to 320, but it will benefit planets that are placed there. And that is a very nice counteraction to Saturn. And Jupiter conjunctions with faster moving planets are all in Gemini. 8th June, Jupiter, Mercury, just lasts a day. 24th June, Jupiter, Sun, Jupiter's combusted. This happens annually. But if you're Sagittarius or Pisces, you know that June you're a bit exhausted. You're overdoing things. And 11th of August is Jupiter-Venus conjunction. And Jupiter retrograde will be 11th November 2025 to 10th March 2026. So from 055 Cancer to 2051 Gemini. Always be careful around the day Jupiter turns retrograde and direct. Otherwise, we do not feel the transit. But on a positive side, if you have planets at 055 Cancer or 2051 Gemini, that is very nice. It's a very positive energy. Is not giving stress like Saturn is giving stress. So now we come to Mars in 2025. Let me have a little water. So Mars in 2025 is under duress. He's debilitated. He has a Ketu conjunction. Later in the year, it goes into Scorpio. Now, as far as Mars is concerned, it has an alternative year conjunction. Last year, there was a Mars Rahu conjunction. This year, there's a Mars Ketu conjunction. And also, he will have every other year a conjunction with Saturn. So these are always, always difficult energies. And it's so Mars is experiencing a long debilitation, 6 December 2024 to 20 Jan 2025. Mars is in Cancer, retrogrades back to Gemini, continues its debilitation 2nd April to 6th June, ends in Gandanta, crossing from Cancer to Leo on 6th of June. One of the things that I've found that in Mars in Cancer, instead of being kind of benign and calm and peaceful, loving, he's doing the opposite thing, being more aggressive, almost as if he feels the weakness. So it's a psychological impact that you think I must over express myself. So that is important to see. Actually, this photograph of Mars is from Pandit Samavedulla's temple in Los Angeles. He has a beautiful Navagraha with the wives there. And this is another Navagraha with the wife from a different temple. So Mars Ketu conjunction in 2025. Conjunction happens once every 2 years. And this year in Leo on 26th, 27th of July. So Leo is also a fire sign. It's known as Pisacha Yoga, unleashes anger and violence. We must be careful around these days. Mars, Ketu are both in fire signs. And remember last time it was very violent in Israel, Gaza situation all escalated. Maybe we pray that the second time around Mars, Ketu may have some calmness, but it's a challenging transit. And basically for all of you, those days are not good days to travel. They're not good days to plan any large gathering you want to go. So it's maybe nothing happens, so many times people will say, oh, I went on that day, it was perfectly okay. But it's only some days you can get into the situation and you don't want to be. And Pisacha means, the shadowy people. I'm trying to find the exact meaning of Pisacha now. It's 2:00 at night here. So let me see, Pisacha. Meaning. Okay. So these are these is a malevolent being. So some negative energies, like these shadowy energies around. So, it may not affect you at all, but what is important to be cautious about it. You see, Ketu Vat Mars. So Ketu acts like Mars. So next year we have Rahu Vat Saturn. Means Rahu acts like Saturn and Ketu acts like Mars. And so you have like these double Mars or double Saturn or double Rahu or double Ketu. So it's a pretty powerful energy. And then we come to Venus. And Venus in 2025, it has a long stay in exalted Pisces. Complicated as Rahu is there and then Saturn. Conjunctions for both of them together. And I just want to show you also. Just going to put Venus. See here, we have a Venus-Saturn conjunction at the beginning of the year. But Venus-Saturn, they are friends, they are okay to be together. So there they are together on 17th January, Venus-Saturn. Always on the day, it can be challenging. But let's look at a little bit later. And you see, in January only, Venus becomes exalted. And it's always a very good thing for Venus to be exalted. So this is 27th of January. But see, Rahu is there. and Venus is going to conjoin with Rahu. This is a first conjunction of Venus with Rahu. Venus is exalted, Rahu in Pisces. And then if we just go a little quicker, 7 days, Venus continues in Pisces. And now it is retrograding. On 1st of March, it retrogrades in Pisces. And it's going to go back to Rahu. And let's just look at this. See this, I was doing the solar eclipse. This is a lunar eclipse. Venus is retrograde, with Mercury is also retrograde. And if we go another 7 days, lunar eclipse. This is the eclipse I was talking to you earlier about. So you see, at the time of the eclipse, so on 29th, when the eclipse, new moon eclipse, you can see Rahu is there, Venus is retrograding towards Rahu, Mercury is there, and Saturn is just about to change signs. And within, I think, one Rashi, maybe two. So you see there, Saturn has now come here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planets in Pisces. That itself on its own is a drama. And you can see Venus retrograde, Rahu retrograde, Mercury retrograde, Saturn just changing signs. And 7 days later, one sec, it's a few earlier days. There you can see on 2nd of April, Rahu-Venus conjunction, and Saturn is now coming towards Rahu. So this is a Shrapit yoga. This is regarded as a challenging yoga. Look at Mercury, that's also coming towards Rahu. And so here Mercury, Rahu, but Mercury has gone direct. It didn't come exactly, but it's pretty close. And then if we just go, this is 7th of April. And then if we just go 1 day at a time, you see now, look at Saturn, Rahu. They are very tight, close by. This is 11th of April, 12th of April, 13th, 14th. And now Venus has gone direct. So Venus is coming straight back at Rahu and is going to conjoin with Rahu for a 3rd time. See here, Venus is 20th. And then just look at that Venus, Saturn. And you see, the thing for me is that in a marriage chart, Venus must not be compromised. And this is my objection to the people who ask me for marriage Mahurata for April. I have to be honest to my subject, you know. And so you see here, Venus is very compromised. On 23rd, Venus is with Saturn. And 24th, their exact conjunction. 25th, at least it moves out of it. And you see these conjunctions all together. So, see, one says Venus is exalted, but you have to see what company it's keeping. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets together in Pisces, moon. The sun is in Aries, so that is a blessing. And Jupiter is about to change signs. So this Venus is long stay and so from 27th January to 30th May, Venus is in Pisces. So really it's around around May, Venus will be much more happier because it will have finished its conjunctions, and then he can influence. It's going to be retrograde from 1st March to 12th of April, 13th April, start of Shrapit Yoga, part of Shrap, with simultaneous conjunction with Saturn Rahu. So you see how these energies, they can make you afraid, really, that, but you shouldn't be, because you're an astrologer. You should think about that. These are challenging times. Like if it's snowing or raining or something, you're going to take. I'm not in California just now, but they're having atmospheric river there. So, there's all the rain happening. So one has to take some precaution regarding that. So now we come to Rahu Ketu. This is the last of the things. I'm also going to give some remedies. This is Manarsala temple, Rahu Ketu temple. One of the main reasons that I'm doing 2 trips this year. I'm in Chandigarh just now. I'm going to do a goddess trip. Goddess is the deity for Rahu Ketu. And so we are doing the goddess trip just now, visiting Saturn and goddess temples here. And then in February, doing the Rahu Ketu, Rahu temple. Usually Rahu and Ketu are together. So yearly planning for Rahu Ketu. Rahu Ketu do not change signs every year. The change of signs mean that eclipses are now influencing different signs and areas. So the year Rahu Ketu change signs, it's important. The year Saturn changes signs, it's important. And when both of them are changing signs, this is a very significant year. And with Jupiter changing 3 times, that means that there's going to be a lot of changes. And that is what we should be prepared for. So Rahu Ketu in 2025 begin the year in Pisces, Virgo. 18th May move to Aquarius, Leo. Now this Rahu is from a temple called Nagarkoil in Kerala. And in Kerala, the worship of snakes and Rahu Ketu is very important. And you make an offering to these snake heads like this one with turmeric, milk, and water. That's supposed to be the antidote. And, there are 2 important temples there for Rahu Ketu. What I was saying is Rahu and Ketu are worshipped together, not together in the sign, the same temple. And the goddess is the deity for Rahu, and Lord Ganesha is the deity for Ketu. So I use mean note. True and mean note change signs on different days. So you may find other people giving you another date for Rahu Ketu. That's also correct, but they're just 2 different calculations. So Rahu Ketu in Pisces, Virgo to 19th of May, then Aquarius, Leo axis. The major Saturn Rahu conjunction plus eclipses now impact a different sign from March onwards. Even though Rahu Ketu only change signs in May. Actually, the first eclipse in Leo is before Rahu changes Leo, but they are in that same vicinity as Rahu Ketu. Ketu is tougher than Rahu, although the exact Rahu transit will also increase anxiety and worry. Crises happen if there is an exact opposition in the chart. Rahu Ketu transit at the same time. So, for example, you have your Lagna at 2 degrees of Pisces and Lagna Lord at 2 degrees of Virgo. That means that Jupiter at 2 degrees Virgo. That means that when Rahu Ketu come there, Rahu will be 2 degrees Pisces, Ketu will be 2 degrees Virgo. So that is important. And generally, planets who are ascendant in Virgo and Leo will have a tougher time because Ketu is much more difficult to handle. As I told you, I'm Pisces ascendant and Rahu is transiting my Lagna just now. And except for the time exact conjunction, it's been a very good transit. But Ketu is mostly the Virgo Lagnas, they're feeling it. And then Ketu will go into Leo. And so then it's the time for Leo Lagna. So the conjunctions to Ketu every year, they need to be watched. And 22nd July is the Mars Ketu Pisacha Yoga at 2632 Leo. So Pisacha, these goblins and those kind of shadowy things. So therefore, that means that some kind of secret situation can happen around that time, and secret enemy, one could say. 9th September is with the sun. Usually when Ketu is with the sun means it's time for eclipses. 9th September is also Mercury. 2nd October is Venus. Actually, I think Mercury is 10th September, but I forgot to change that. Then conjunctions to Rahu, 17th March, Sun Rahu. There's an eclipse 13th March, but the exact Sun Rahu conjunction is 17th. 13th April, Saturn Rahu, which is the Shrapit Yoga. That means there is some kind of old karma coming to, I would say, to the world, really. We as we need to calm down. And these planets are not helping us, whether it's climate or politics or people or anger. Rahu and Saturn both promote anger, and we should very much be conscious of that. Around 13th April, Saturn Rahu conjoined with Mercury and Venus. I already showed you that transit. And then the eclipses. All planets, Lagna, can experience eclipses once every 9 years or so. Therefore, it's something that is part of our life, that every few years we will get an eclipse, either a Rahu eclipse or a Ketu eclipse. The main thing to understand is if the eclipse is exactly on our important points or connection directly on problem areas of life and combined with other challenging transits and dasha, then they can create crisis. My experience of eclipses is that always the eclipse is challenging day, whether it's visible or not. We feel very strange emotionally around eclipse days. And that's what I like to keep that day very simple and not overdo, because that is the main thing with the eclipse. So this is again from Sri Jyoti Star that I have there. I've been using. So you can see here, 13th April, moon total eclipse. Visible, yes, means it's visible to me in Brentwood, where I live. 29th of March, I showed you this eclipse as well, solar eclipse. It's a partial eclipse. But if you see there is Saturn is there, Rahu is there, it's all sorts of complications. So I would still think this can be quite dramatic. And then 7th of September, lunar eclipse not visible. And 21st of September, solar eclipse partial, not visible to me. It may be visible to you. Now, in detail, lunar eclipse in Leo on 13th of March. So this is the first Leo eclipse, 29 degrees, 21 minutes. 29th March, partial solar eclipse on 14 degrees, 50 Pisces. Same day as Saturn changes signs, Mercury, Venus, both retrograde. So I already showed you this one. So this eclipse here, 13th of March, is on Sankranti Day. That means sun is changing signs. So always, when eclipse is happening, you try to see what else is happening. And the Sankranti is like a transitional day. So this eclipse can be signifying some transition. Then 7th September, lunar eclipse in Aquarius, 2054. And then 21st of September, this is equinox day. And partial solar eclipse at 4 degrees, 33 Leo. So what you see is this eclipse with the Pasha, with the, equinox. So those are the things you're always watching for. And of course, if any of your planets are in these degrees, 29 Leo, 1450 Pisces, 2054 Aquarius, and 433 Leo. So that means that those, if they're tight conjunction, 2-3 inch orb maximum, or same Navamsha, then, this is definitely impacting you. So now we come to remedies, because when you know the transits, you know the planets, and there's a lot more happening, we just don't have time, or even you'd get already too much information. But the remedies can be classified as spiritual, mental, and practical. Practical or common sense remedies are equally important. Spiritual, mental remedies can help develop a stronger inner core that helps you make the right choices for practical decisions too. The path of yoga help in both spiritual, mental practices. So I would say the most important remedy that you should have in your chart, because all these karmic disturbances that we get is all past life karma that we are having to deal with. And today, when I was at the Saturn temple, I was telling the Guruji there that, I just been to this another temple, and he said, it's karma, you must have done something. You're getting all these openings. Good. He was just blessing me. It was very nice. But the point is this, that karma is important, and paying back karma is through karma yoga. It purifies the heart by teaching you to act selflessly without thought of gain and reward. By detaching yourself from fruits of your action, offering them to God, you learn to sublimate the ego. Karma. So basically, the point is this, that something selfless. In this world, we can't be totally selfless, because that is not possible. But in your life, you should be doing something selfless. People are so selfish, they don't think of anything outside their thing. So karma is a crucial remedy for Saturn and Rahu. By practicing karma yoga, we are actively paying back our old karmas. You see, Saturn and Rahu, they talk about karma in different ways. Saturn says that while you're living, why not pay back your old debts? And therefore, he keeps on creating some obstacles to wake you up. Okay, wake up, think about this, pay back your old karma. And therefore, that is, whereas Rahu is bringing unfulfilled desires from past life and continues creating new karma, because you're trying to, your bucket list, so to say. So it is important to, in both ways, instead of consuming, you are trying to give back. And the main thing is this, we do not know what karma we have, to whom we need to pay back. So practicing karma yoga regularly is like paying off the old karma. It's like paying off your bank account. So it is very important to think about that. So some of the things of karma yoga you can do is seva, service to parents, working for society, doing good for all without expectation of reward. So something you can do. You can even, volunteer somewhere, give back to a number of people. They volunteer at a soup kitchen, or you can just help people, elderly, poor. So giving service to others is a great way of doing inner cleansing. It can be done as voluntary work for a charitable organization or personally looking after the elderly and the poor, giving time to make the world a better place for needy people. Seva means giving service to parents, gurus, older people during their time of need. It should be done as a regular practice. Karma yoga is voluntary work that makes life easier for all. And it's a wonderful practice. There's all sorts of things written on it. You can read it up. And the practical remedies, we need a combination of spiritual, mental, practical remedies. They all help and support each other. However, sometimes clients are not open to spiritual and mental remedies, yogic remedies. So you can give them some practical advice. They are happier to pursue. So one of the things, practical advice is in dealing with challenging transits is simplifying your life. Think of what is superfluous and consciously remove it or reduce it from your life. Having unnecessary expectation burdens will unnecessarily complicate. It may not be possible to change everything completely, but start making a progress. I always say it's a life in progress. You have not reached your destination, so you can't expect to have done everything. Learn to say no to unnecessary activities, travel, socialization. Take time to enjoy simple things in life. I find that editing my life regularly around my birthday or any time I get, something I don't need to do or I don't unnecessarily need to go there. So you have a simpler expectation, simpler life. That is very good. And then restraint. Phaldipika says that the planets don't bother people who live a life of restraint. So restraint in all actions is essential. Restraint is part of a spiritual practice where we learn to control our senses and desires. We should be conscious of our desires, learn to regulate them. We should not have a big wish list of what we want to do and what we have. Desires lead to more desires and ultimately to dissatisfaction. During challenging transits, we must learn to handle our desires. The less, the better. So many people, just practical advice, they say, buy what you need rather than what you want. Even in your life, some things you just want. It's not necessary for the good functioning of your life. So think about it. But at the same time, I'm not advising that you are totally being what's the right word for it? Totally being restrained and taking all the joy from what brings you joy, but try to practice that. And that is very, very useful. And over the years, from a young person, as you go to my age, you become more able to deal with these things. And so avoid impulsive actions. Be careful of your choices. Do not rush unnecessary projects that can become burdensome. Always think about your actions before acting on them. And I would say that the main thing is this: when the planets are creating a big drama, that is the time restraint is good, And, very often clients, students say, I couldn't help myself. I had to do it. But, it's a lifelong practice. You do little by little and it helps. So that is it for today. I'm just going to take some question answers just to let you know about my trip, Rahu Ketu trip, if anybody is interested, and my classes that start in March. Everything's on my website, komilla.com. And you can also look at my conference. The Vedic Astrology Conference on VIMSHOTTARI Dasha, and my books. So that is it for today. So now I'm open for any questions. Anybody has any questions?
Pranams, Komilla ji. This is Pasha. So Shanati is taking a little break. So with
Hi,
your
Dasha. That's okay.
with your permission, I'll read a couple of questions.
Okay.
And I hope that we can let you go and get some good rest for the evening.
I know it's 2:07 now here.
So first question is in regards to Saraswati and whether or not one should consider looking at the D9 for Saturn transiting over the moon. So do we just look at the Rashi chart when examining?
Yeah, mostly Rashi chart. If say you have Saturn in Aquarius or Pisces in your D9 chart, then you can look at that as an extra, information. But I would say that it's not as intense an experience as it would be if you have, going over your Rashi chart.
Next question is a little bit personal, but I'll try to generalize it. What would you say the remedy would be for Ketu going over the natal Rahu in Leo?
Yeah.
So you discussed this transit of Ketu moving into Leo this upcoming year. So if someone has natal Rahu in Leo and is in Rahu Dasha.
Yeah, the thing is when Ketu goes over Rahu, sometimes it triggers a situation. It's a half Rahu return, you could say, Rahu Ketu return. So it can be a significant transit, but how significant depends on it. Sometimes there's too much Rahu Ketu, you're in Rahu Dasha and Ketu. So I would say that it's important when the exact transit is taking place is to see if there's any event happening or some situation happening in your life, and learning to react with restraint at that time. But sometimes these transits, they don't activate anything. So it's not always that Ketu going over Rahu would activate something.
Right, with respect to the natal chart positions as well. So I do appreciate your remedy section on seva and performing selfless service. Kind of summarizes chapter 3 of the Gita about not being attached to the fruit of our action and so on and so forth. Next question is from Uttara Joshi. Thank you so much for your informative presentation, Komilla ji. Would relocating to another country be risky next year?
Sorry, I missed relocate to where?
Doesn't specify, but relocating to a different country.
Okay. It's not necessarily risky. It depends on so many things. Firstly, what dasha you're in, what is your lagna, what is your moon sign, it's just an answer that is impossible to give in a general way. But it's not risky if you do it at an appropriate time. If you're thinking, I want to go on 12th of April, then I would say yes. But there's so many other days that you could choose. But you have to first look at your dasha and your personal transits.
Namaste, Komilla ji, says Christina. You mentioned Venus would be affected in the eclipse and in that 5-planet conjunction. Do you have any suggestions for people in Venus Dasha or Venus dominant charts? Thank you.
Well, I think obviously if you're, say, Taurus or Libra Lagna, then your Lagna Lord is exalted. But at the same time, it's in trouble. So therefore, you don't have all the options, especially, I would say, from March onwards, when Venus starts getting involved in the eclipses and everything. So I would say that is the main thing, right up to middle of April or end of April, while it's between Rahu and Saturn. So yes, I mean, you could do the mantra for Venus, you could do goddess, Lakshmi, who's the goddess for Venus. You could do some remedy or number of remedies for Venus at that time, because that is a challenging transit for those months. And specifically, I would say that not to change your life around that time, because if Venus is dominant planet for you, that's not the time to make important decisions.
So valuable to us to hear your feedback on transits. I know it's one of your most favorite topics to discuss, and we follow your YouTube channel. So I think the questions have ended there. Thank you for taking on this journey into 2025, says Trudy. Much gratitude. And on that sweet note, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And
we can't wait to see you during your next presentations on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere you go. We want to be there.
Yeah. And Pasha, it's nice to meet you virtually, because I haven't met you in person. At least I don't think I've met you in person.
Actually, I took a picture with you in Sedona 3 years ago, so I have proof. But I know you meet a lot of people, so.
Good. Well, hello again then. So good night from India, and sending you all sort of nice vibes to you, and namaste. Thank you.
Namaste. Take care.